Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar on Windchill Navigate. We're excited to show you how this tool can give stakeholders across your organization easy, role-based access to up-to-date product data without needing deep PLM expertise. Before we get started, just a quick reminder to submit your questions anytime in the Q&A panel. If we don't get to those questions during the presentation, we'll be sure to reach out with answers after. Now, I am pleased to introduce today's presenter, our very own applications engineer, Jade Goldman. Let's get started.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today. So as Ben mentioned, my name is Jade Goldman, and I am an applications engineer here with EAC. So today we're going to talk a little bit about Navigate, it's a suite of role-based applications that allow stakeholders to get to product data more efficiently than ever before. So starting off with a few of the common industry challenges surrounding accessing product data. Information is typically siloed within different organizations, even though the info is needed by the entire company. There needs to be a simpler way to leverage data from multiple organizations to see that whole picture. Additionally, there is usually more than one enterprise application that's being used. A lot of companies have different disparate systems that are managing different types of data, which can cause a bottleneck when attempting to view some or all of that data in one organized place. And quite often, the people that are inputting the data have no problem accessing it in the future, but other people in roles such as marketing, sourcing, manufacturing, they really just need to be able to not actually be extremely active in the system day to day. They just want to be able to access the data from a simpler source so that they can do their jobs quicker and more effectively. Just a few more challenges on this slide. One of them being a non-optimized PLM interface for a specific role. Right, so PLM interfaces tend to have and show all of the access and information that everyone needs, which can very easily make it tricky for those casual users to get in and see the exact data that they're looking for. Those same users often forget the proper way to use that PLM system. So the formal training and communication of best practices are great, they're helpful, but they really do depend on regular use. This usually leads to that user reaching out to an application expert to get the information for them, which of course pulls both of them away from what they're working on and causes a delay on both ends. Lastly, everyone's most dreaded word, customization. So PLM interfaces can be customized, but it can be extremely costly, and customizing for one group can often lead to limitations on another group's ability to use the interface that they see fit. So where am I going with all of this? Navigate, of course. So as I mentioned earlier, Navigate is a suite of role-based applications which enables more stakeholders to access and impact product data. What makes up Navigate? There are applications to view parts, such as 3D models, CAD drawings, and the part-specific data. You also have apps to view documentation. So that would be any product-related docs that you have in Windchill. There are also change review board apps. There's manufacturing apps, so work instructions. You have drawing bundle downloads. And then there are also a handful of custom apps as well. So here's a long list of all of the out-of-the-box Navigate applications, and I won't list them all for you because everyone here can read, but I do want to mention just a few of the heavy hitters. So the View Drawing app is amazing for people on the manufacturing floor that need to quickly access drawing data. The View Parts list is great for procurement and purchasing since it gives a nice view of quantities and bonds. The My Tasks, so the CRB one I mentioned on that last screen, significantly simplifies the change request review process. And then that last one, the Download Drawing Bundle, quickly packages up information for suppliers or outside vendors. Navigate provides simple searching, filtering, navigation, and viewing of product data. The screens and processes are standardized between apps, so it really does streamline and make things more consistent, and it doesn't require really much in-depth training. Also, the interface is modern and scalable, and it can be utilized on your PC, of course, but it can also be opened on tablets and phones as well. And then the interoperability layer, which provides a holistic view of your PLM data. This includes not only data from Windchill, but data you may have stored in external databases or other enterprise systems. Navigate also allows you to dynamically connect to multiple systems of origin, which can be, of course, PTC core products, or you can also utilize pre-built connectors that access third-party systems such as ERP or MES. The data is funneled from those different systems and is put in the hands of the user via a single sign-on interface. As we know, decision-making is so much more effective when you can see all of the relevant data in one place at the same time. And then setup and delivery are also super efficient, as in it can take hours and days, not weeks and months. Okay, so that was the slides I'm going to go over with you. And next, I actually do have a little bit of a presentation or demo to actually show you what Navigate looks like. Okay, so just a reminder as I pull over the Navigate interface, the intent of Navigate is to allow users inside of a company to easily access the data that you have and make it shareable to all the users who could benefit from seeing that data. Traditionally, this might be something that could be difficult for casual users to access since they might not have the expertise or even confidence to dig around in a larger system. This also allows them to easily get that data. So as we go through this demonstration, you'll see that I'll be signed in as a few different users. Different users may have different views or different apps that they can use. Again, this is going to be with the idea to keep it simple and easy for them. Okay, so starting off as Mike, we are in manufacturing and we have the part task collection as well as a reported problem task app. We're going to start with the part collection apps today, and we will start with the view part structure. So if you're interested in one of the apps, you can simply select on it from the home screen, and it's going to bring you to a search page like this. Just like in Windchill, you can search using partial names, whole names, numbers, pretty much anything you normally use to search, and it'll bring back any partial matches that we see. So in our case today, we're going to take a look at the seat. So again, simply select on the object that you're interested in, and any recent objects are going to show up in your search. So that you can easily get back to those too if you wanted to go back to them without having to do a full search again. In the part structure app, we have the ability to see the visualization of the assembly as well as the actual structure and the quantity for the items inside of it. So if I select on something here in the structure, you are going to see that it gives me more detail about that object on the right, as well as cross-highlighting in the visualization on the left and showing what part that is. Same works in reverse, where if I select on something visually, it's going to show it in the structure. We can also export the structure as a CSV or Excel format. So if we needed to share this, we can quickly and easily save it and review it with whoever we need to. Going past that, in the visualization, we have the ability to look at different orientations or any saved view states. So we can quickly interrogate the object too. Again, this is a powerful capability for users who traditionally might not be strong CAD users and who wouldn't be able to normally visually get into these types of data. We can also highlight, turn off, turn on, select specific objects that we want to look at, isolate them, as well as being able to transform those in the 3D space, and then we can pull them apart like an explode view. Again, just a lot of ability for someone to be able to come in and really interrogate that information. So next, we're going to go to the view and measure in 3D. So we can easily just go across the breadcrumb trail there for the different apps without having to fully search again. When we go to the view and measure in 3D, it's going to launch Creo View. And this works with a lot of different file types, right? It's not just specific to Creo. But this is a lightweight viewer for someone to be able to visualize that 3D data, similar to what we just saw on the structure tab, but with a little more detail. So here we have the model structure on the left-hand side, and then we are able to bring in the full visualization of the seat that we have. With Creo View, though, we can take this a step further and really start to interrogate that model even more. We can do things like if we wanted to take a section view to look at something, we can easily run that section view just where that's at, or you can do quarter sections, run them across different planes. We can also do markups, like if you wanted to leave a note for someone, or say you wanted to take a measurement such as the distance right between here, these two bolts, that's going to be accurate to the CAD. So this again gives those users more access to the data that they need without having them being in an actual CAD tool, or worse, possibly worrying about them changing the actual CAD data. Now, coming back into Navigate, we can go across to some of the other apps and continue to look at information about the seat. I'm going to open up the parts list, and similar to the part structure, this is going to have all the objects that are inside of the assembly, but it's not going to show it in a structure format. It's just going to have the table with the different components, as well as showing you the quantity. And in this case, if there's a drawing file, the drawing file as well. These are always configurable. We can add different columns to the table if we want to show different information. And similar to what we saw earlier, if I select on a part, it's going to give me more details about it on the right-hand side. Say I'm interested in this part right here, I can directly select it from here and go down to that individual part level. Now, looking through the different apps for this part specifically, we can come to the Drawings tab. This is where you're going to be able to see, of course, any drawings that are associated to the part or the assembly. If there's multiple, you can always download all of them. It's going to show you which formats they're in. In this case, we just have this one PDF version. So again, we can easily access this, review the drawing, get any detail that we would need from it. Not a whole lot of information on here. So continuing on from the drawing, the last app here for Mike is the Design Files app. And this is going to allow us to see any associated design files. So we have the ability to see things like the parts list. In this case, we have a washer load file, but we could have really any associated file here. We can see them, review them, download all of them, whatever it is that we want to do. Can also come back to the search here for the part apps. So staying in the View Part List app, I can then look for a different part. In this case, we are going to look for a spindle that has some additional MBD data on it. When I select on this, it'll bring us back to the app that we're in. So again, in our part list. And if I go to my drawings here, we'll see that for this spindle, we also have some additional data here on the part. Opening this, we can see that we have all the annotation sets, the MBD data, and the things that, again, someone that's on the shop floor might need to review. That's going to give them easy access to that information. Not only that, coming back to the part structure tab for the spindle, we'll see in the visualization that, as I mentioned earlier, we have some saved view states. So we've saved annotation model-based definition states that we can toggle between and visually review in 3D as well. Again, giving more access to the users and really letting them find any information it is that they need by themselves without having to go to an engineer or someone else to say, hey, can you pull up a spec sheet on this, or can you show me MBD details? With that, we are going to stop this mic and switch over to a new user, Phil. So Phil is going to be in purchasing. So Phil cares more about the documentation and details rather than just like the specific part data. You'll see as we sign in that we do have different apps. So we have some part collection apps, but just the drawings and the view part list, so less options there. Unlike Mike, Phil has the ability to view documents and view document structures. We're going to start with the view document. Like we saw with a part, you can search. You can do a search based off of the name or the number. We can also have saved searches that group documents together. So in this case, we have a few different filters that we can have applied. And similar to before, you just select on the document that you're interested in, and it's going to take you to details about that, as well as download it for you to review. So easy access for anyone who would need to just come in, find a document, be able to read through it, get what they need, and then leave. Now we can have other information in here too, like additional details, attribute numbers, any attachments. So even as a document, we can have additional attachments here that we want to be able to show, and users can still easily see all of that detail about whatever object it is, in this case, the second document. From here, we can also view it inside of Windchill. So this part is completely configurable too. So you can decide whether or not you want your users to be able to do this. If you would like for them to be able to see all the detail in here in the Windchill page, this can be used as a simple search, and then you can dig right in further in Windchill. Again, they can always do that. You can always limit it as well. Coming back to the Navigate home screen, we'll take a look at the View Document Structure app. With the View Document Structure, this allows us to look at something similar to a part structure, but instead, shocking, for documents. So in this case, we have some material safety data sheets, and we've made a top-level document as the overall holder for these. And then under each of them, we have individual documents and sheets for the materials and what safety protocols apply to them. This shows how documents are related and then allows users from Windchill, from the Windchill side, to create relations and even problem reports. So we can always report a problem on something as well. In this case, we're going to say that this document is outdated and that it needs to have some new information and something needs to be checked in it. Well, as Phil, I can directly report a problem on this document and push that to Windchill, then kicking off the review process in Windchill and possibly, of course, a change process from there. So this really gives users that ability to be more involved and allows you to expand the list of reviewers that you can have by being able to have people review and report problems on anything that they find, really democratizing that for the entire company so that you can have more eyes on that data. Lastly, as Phil, we are going to take a look at the download drawing bundle, one of my favorites. So we saw the ability to look at drawings earlier for individual parts. What this is going to allow you to do is be more specific with multiple parts. So you can say which formats you're interested in, whether you want it to just be a PDF, however you want it, whatever specific file type you want, or you can leave all of them in there. And then you just put a list of the part numbers that you want to pull all the drawings for. We will generate a zip file of that data. And when it goes through and generates this, it's going to check all the part numbers, and it will let you know once it's done if anything was not found. So if any numbers didn't match something, or if it did find the part number, but there wasn't a drawing. In this case, all drawings were found, so all 4 parts and all 4 parts had drawings. Now from here, you can either open up any of these individually, or as I mentioned, let's download that zip file and be able to review all of the drawings for those different individual components that you had listed out there. So that all looks good. Now that we've seen some of the things that someone like Phil in purchasing might do, I'm going to quit being Phil and I will log back into Navigate for the last time as Pat. Pat is a super user, so they have most of the apps that you'll see, and that's going to be great for some people. Maybe some users do want access to most of or all of the data, but again, this is going to be all configurable based on what you want for your team and how you want people accessing the information. As Pat, we are going to come down, look at some of our change management tasks. We saw that we could create a problem report directly from the document or object or part object like we saw. But I can also just create a problem report from the Report a Problem app, giving all of the details for what the issue is, what context it is going to be applied to, as well as what type of problem it is. And if more information is needed, such as say who this is requested by, say it's not you, you can always just put that information in for someone else. So if you have a PDF or some picture, you can always add that as well. So going past just creating that problem report, we can also be involved in the full change process from the Navigate side. So we can contribute to that change workflow. When I come to the tasks, I can see what I have, say, potentially assigned to me, what I've accepted, even things that I've completed. And then I do have that ability to reassign the tasks too. Say I'm out of town, I went on vacation, and I'm going to have someone else looking at these. I can always shoot them off to someone else. We won't do that today. But then if I am interested in any one particular task, of course, we simply select on that conduct online CRB link, and it's going to open up all the details for me. So we can see here all the things such as, say, whether or not there is a cost associated to this, what the description of the problem is, whether or not it's a reoccurring issue, proposed solution, any of the affected items, attachments, just really any and all of that detail that you need. We can also look at these in individual tabs too. So if I want to see what others have done so far, or maybe see if they're waiting on me to do my part, it's all here. Same as before, we can just look at the attachments by themselves rather just than looking in the full details page, but we can review that full PDF there. And then the affected items. So we can see all the impacted objects that are going to be affected by the change process. And with Navigate from here, you can then easily go to the part apps and start reviewing some of the information. So as we said earlier, if you wanted to look at the part structure view and measure in 3D using Navigate view, anything of that nature, this is going to allow you to let users come in, be involved in the process that maybe they traditionally wouldn't have been, dig into the data and give feedback in the change process. Popping back to the tasks, we are going to go ahead and take a look at another request that we have here, which is for an outdated document. So we just need this to be updated. In this case, we are going to say that this document has been updated, pretend that we reviewed everything, and we want to continue to push it through the process. So we're going to say approve, and I'm going to add in some notes. In this case, I'm just going to say approved, but of course you can always add whatever notes you see fit. And then it's going to require you to sign it with your e-signature so that you have that tracking on who signed off on what. That full visibility also does go into Windchill as well, so that is there. That would then kick off the next step in the workflow until it's fully released, or really, whatever your final state is. Now, just touching on this, we also do have the ability to edit some of these apps, and I'm going to go through that in just a few moments, but I wanted to touch on the tailoring for this app specifically first. You can see that there is a lot of detail in terms of what attributes and what information you want to be able to be shown, and that's going to allow you to configure it for what your users see in that change process and all of the associated data around that, from the affected items to any associated additional attachments, such as, say, the PDF that we saw earlier. So all that can be adjusted based on what you want users to see in that process. And next, we're going to take a look at the View Work Instructions app. This is one of the manufacturing apps that allows users to look at process plans that were created and pulled from Windchill. You start by selecting on the product that you're interested in, and it's going to see if there's any process plans for that specific product. In our case, there is only going to be one, so we don't have a drop-down under process plan, but we do have some different stations that might have different steps for them. I'm just going to go ahead and pull all the stations at once. You could, of course, look at one individually at a time, but here we can see the 3 different workstations that we have for the process plans under the standard fuel system. We select on this first one, it'll pull us into that process plan and show us all of the steps and the details around it. Once it loads, we'll notice that we have the 2D visualization here of the part or the assembly. We also have on the right all of the parts that are being used, details on the left, and the ability to toggle between steps. We can also look at this in 3D more than just the 2D, and much like we saw with the part selection apps earlier, we do have the cross-highlighting, and you can easily identify what's going on between those. We also have the ability, like I said, to toggle between steps. So if you want to see all of them, you can toggle that down, be able to see all of them at once, or switch between which ones you want and easily, kind of go back and forth between that data. Also have the ability to add in things like tools, which to show what tool might be used in a specific step, as well as that cross-highlighting for that information. Again, on the left, we'll see the detailed description of what should be done in the step, as well as then the additional information, such as if there's any attachments. That is going to show up on the right-hand side, as well as the tools and any control characteristics. So in this case, we do have a control characteristic related to the torque on this torque gun that we are going to use. And all of that can be shown to the user on the shop floor, utilizing this very simple interface and reusing data that you already have in Windchill, saving time, making it easier for everyone involved in the process. And as there might be updates made in Windchill, all of that gets easily passed down as it's released at the Navigate side, so you don't have to worry about whether or not users are looking at the latest version or manually, making sure that they have the correct work instructions for what they need and what it is that they're working on at their individual work cell. Okay, so coming back to our Windchill homepage, we've got a few more apps to look at here. In this case, and with the manufacturing app, similar to what we saw when we were involved in the change review process, there's a lot of configuration you can do here based on what you want the users to be able to see and how you want that fully consumed downstream. And then one last time, coming down to the last set of apps, the custom apps. This last section is going to allow you to pull data from different systems, whether it be Windchill or an ERP or something else, but you can see that you can have different configurable views. In this case, we made some tables to show how our change notices are going through, and then we can see what's in the implementation plan versus what's been completed or might be behind deadline. And then with that, we can drill down into any of those specific changes as well, and we can select on them. We can open it up in Windchill if we do want to do a more specific deep dive. But again, something nice maybe for a manager or someone to be able to just quickly come in, see what projects are tied to, where everything is at, whatever it is that's important to them. But with the custom apps, you can really build out different views and collect information and show it in a way that you want to. You can even combine information from some of the different out-of-the-box apps, such as if you wanted a parts list, maybe next to pulling some data from ERP and showing attachments. You can highlight and show all of that utilizing those custom applications. So now that I've shown all the applications, I do want to just briefly touch on the ability to configure them a little further. I know I mentioned it a few minutes ago for two of the apps, but you can also do it for entire collections. So I mentioned we had manufacturing and purchasing, so we can see which apps Mike in manufacturing had turned on, as well as if there were any filters set for searching, whether or not you only want them to see the latest release data, so on and so forth. All of that can be controlled versus purchasing for Phil, where he had most of that turned off. No search filters applied, nothing like that for him versus some of the document apps. We can also edit each of these apps individually, like we saw with the other two manufacturing apps earlier. It's going to allow you to quickly come in, say what data I want shown in the part list, what attributes I want displayed, if there's drawings, and what formats I want to be shown. All of that can be configured based on your needs. And again, of course, what it is that you want your users to see. So for the document collection, it's going to be a bit of the reverse, whereas Mike, the manufacturer, he's not really going to have access to either of those apps. So he's not really going to see that. But Phil in purchasing does have both the apps turned on. Again, if we have some of those saved searches so that AXYS document search I showed earlier, or you could use things like manuals, for example, but you can build those filters and save searches to help make it easier for the users. Again, Mike having neither turned on for him, he doesn't have any filtering. So with that, I am going to come back here to my homepage and pop back over to my presentation for one last slide. Okay, so I hope that walkthrough really helped to show the value that Navigate can provide, but just in case, one, it does allow you to efficiently use your collected data. Companies spend so much time, energy, money to develop that data, so why not allow everyone who needs it to be able to easily access it? Two, it's super easy to deploy and adopt, and values are recognized almost immediately. Three, product development should include all stakeholders earlier and more often, and Navigate supports this. And then really last but not least, you have more eyes on clean data earlier in the process, which helps to reduce errors and therefore overall cost. All right, thank you so much for joining me today. Ben, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Jade, for that demonstration. And thank you all for joining us. We'll stick around for a bit longer in the chat for any questions that may come up. If there are any questions outstanding that we haven't answered by the end, we will follow up with you shortly.